As dawn began to break, the first sons of the young nation landed in Gallipoli. These young Australians, with their New Zealand comrades, have come to do their bit in the call of their nation. Over 8 impossible months they forged a legend whose grip on us grows tighter with each passing year. In the hills, ridges, gullies and the beaches of Anzac Cove they fought, died, dug in and hung on. Here they won a compelling place in the Australian story. Today we remember the 50,000 who served in the Gallipoli campaign and the more than 26,000 who fell or were wounded there. Gallipoli began our involvement in an event that would claim many of our young men. Nearly 2/3 of the 330,000 Australians who served abroad during World War I would become casualties. 60,000 would never see Australia again. We remember today a century of Australian sacrifice, the more than 100,000 Australians who have died in war and for peace in our name. From World War I through World War II, Korea, Malaya, Vietnam, Timor, Iraq and even today in Afghanistan. Our Anzac forebears and those whose names are recorded on the Roll of Honour in this great monument behind me will be quite proud of Australia today. They knew better than we ever could that nationhood was born of sacrifice. And it was a horror of warfare where the lives are destroyed and the dreams of our youth are forever lost that our nation identity was forged. But as we reflect today on our conflicts in which Australians have been involved and the many increasingly dangerous obligations faced by our defence forces, including police, in other operational deployments, one thing stands out. Most servicemen and women may have signed up for adventure out of a sense of obligation or just wanting to be involved, and yes, they fought for our nation, our flag, our people and their families. But as noble as these ideals may be, their commitments in combat, their raw courage and their self-sacrifice in the face of overwhelming odds were driven largely by those physical closest to them, their mates. Mateship is at the heart of what we refer to as the Anzac values. It drives loyalty, courage, endurance and sacrifice. Mateship has no limits. Our military heritage as a new nation was founded on the shores of Gallipoli 98 years ago. Later generations of Australians have answered the call to preserve our freedom and defend our values and our way of life. The Anzacs and the more than 100,000 servicemen who later lost their lives since will be the last people to glorify war or part in it, or their part in it. The greatest gift to us through their suffering and that of their families is our freedom and our opportunities. And we are fortunate now to enjoy here in Australia. We can show our appreciation not just through remembering and honouring them, but by committing to that Anzac values defined by mateship and a fair go for all, lest we forget. I now ask Senator Fiona Nash to offer a few words.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, most importantly, the men and women who have served us and who are serving this nation. Australia wakes up today to remember those who have served us and those who currently do, in particular those from the Anzacs and everyone that followed, to remember and to more importantly say thank you. What you have done for our nation, so much we can't comprehend, so much that those who have fallen, that those who are still with us but have been part of so many conflicts across the globe, they have done so much for us, and it's very difficult for us to convey the thanks that we need to those wonderful Australians. As John said, Australia is what it is today because we are built on that Anzac tradition. Those traditions of courage, mateship, honesty thread through every part of our society. They are the basis of who we are as Australians. And so much of that is because of what has gone before. And those Australians that have laid down their lives for this nation, and those wonderful Australians who are still with us, who can remember what they went through in the name of this wonderful country. And it matters. It really, really matters. Because if those wonderful Australians hadn't been prepared to serve this nation, we wouldn't be where we are. We wouldn't have the freedom and the opportunity that John talked about. And it's not just those today we honour that fell giving their lives for this nation, and those who were part of all of those conflicts over years gone by. It's not just those that were at the front line. It's also those who supported those who went into battle for us, that were part of our forces. The cooks, the cleaners, the doctors, the nurses, the list is endless of people that served this nation, not necessarily on the front line, but were just as important and are still just as important as those who go into battle. And I've stood here for years now, and it means no less just because I'm here every year. It is the same degree of care, it's the same degree of absolute importance that we must remember those who have served and continue to serve us. Some of you may remember that I say quite often that I can't possibly understand as a wife and mother what it must have been like to lose a child through battle, through their serving of the nation. Last year we got a bit closer. Robert Burt was killed in Afghanistan. He was a friend of my son's and went through school with them. And what an amazing fellow, as so many young Australians are, to give their lives for this nation. And when he was being remembered, his father made the point that he and his mates that were serving the nation had a motto. They were brothers by choice. They chose to serve this nation because they knew how much it mattered. And in the past, of course, we've had conscription and national service. But for those young men, they knew how important it was that they put their lives on the line to serve this nation so that we could be a nation that was free, a nation that had opportunity into the future, and a nation that could be truly the nation that we know we can be into the future. So to those of you who have served, to those of you who are continuing to serve, we say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Nash. I now ask Father Richard Thompson to give his address.
Good morning, everyone, and my fourth time around. In Young, we have a tradition of sharing this task amongst the local clergy. I must be the oldest of them. On this day, above all days, we recall those who did not return to receive the welcome and gratitude of their nation. Those who still sleep where they fell, in the valleys and the ridges of Gallipoli, on the rocky terraced hills of Palestine, the cemeteries of France, in the shimmering haze of the Libyan desert of Barda, Burna, Tabuk, amid the mountain passes and olive groves of Crete and Greece, the rugged hills of, still today, war-torn Syria, the rich jungles of Malaya and Vietnam, New Guinea, the South Pacific, amid loving friends in England and in our own far north, and in many an unknown resting place in almost every land and sea. We remember with pride and gratitude the men and women who gave their lives in defence of our nation. They fought and died that we might have security and peace, and that we might walk in freedom and live in justice. We remember with pride and gratitude and sympathy the men and women who live today in suffering and in pain in our hospitals as a result of their generosity in protecting Australia. We remember with gratitude and sympathy the men and women who had their spirit crushed or their minds deranged by the horrors and sufferings through which they passed and saw others tragically pass. We think of the women who gave their lives in service and in the spirit of sisterhood, which kept this nation alive while so many of their men were defending freedom away from home. This morning we remember also with pride and gratitude the chaplains of our Defence Force who brought and continue to bring spiritual comfort and consolation in times of sickness, injury, fear and death. We remember with pride and gratitude the doctors, the nurses, the Red Cross workers and all volunteers who served and continue to serve our sick this day, wounded and those exhausted servicemen and women. We remember this day all those men and women who are serving their nation in current areas of peacekeeping, peacemaking, and especially those who are currently serving in Afghanistan, the leftovers in Iraq and Timor-Leste. We remember the 39 families who are mourning the loss of their sons in the Afghanistan war. They are Australia's newest victims of the tragedy and trauma that is ever present in the profession of arms. And we do not forget the 251 wounded Australian service personnel from the Afghanistan conflict. As the sun rises in the east here this morning, let our prayers of remembrance, our prayers for peace in the world and within our own selves, let our prayers rise with the sun and gently be placed at the foot of the Son of God, who alone knows the anguish of the sorrowful, the pain of those who mourn. May the risen Lord Jesus ease our sorrow and restore our faith, that God's will be done as we honour those who have gone to their eternal reward. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May their souls and the souls of all the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in peace, lest we forget.
The last post will now be played, followed by a moment's silence, and then the reveille.
Up my body. Hey, Ted! Jen!
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget. That ends the formal part of our service this morning. Thank you for your participation, and thank you to Senator Fiona Nash, who at lunchtime yesterday was in Darwin, to Captain Sadlier, representing the Navy, our contingency from HMAS Albatross, and Father Richard, thank you very much for your participation, and to Liz and Keith from the Youngshire Band, very well done. Guard.
Counterfire party! Left, turn. Counterfire party! Quick, up. Counterfire party! Full. Counterfire party! Full. Out.
Parade Commander.
Three. Full. Out.
And I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder. One of the four beasts saying, "Come and see." And I saw, and behold, a white horse.
Oops! I did it again, baby. Yeah!
Tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Bye for now.